Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast, where you train your brain for seven figures. My name is Dr. Shannon Irvin, and this is you're listening to a top 25 podcast that is dedicated to helping you grow the way you think so that you can have the freedom, the impact, and the influence to honor God and step into that big calling as an entrepreneur where you change lives, change your own family's lives, and make a difference in the world. So cannot wait to have you listen this week. Let's go. Good morning. How are you today? It's Monday. I hope you're ready to rock and roll. This live, I couldn't wait to do for you this morning because I'm going to be talking about one single solitary business strategy that's the deal maker between struggling and staying stuck and not going as fast as you want to and getting to that 7 and 8 figure mark. It is a what I call when God parted the Red Sea, it's the one business strategy that is the divider. It is the game changer. And I'm going to deep dive into it a little bit today. And then I'm also going to be announcing the winners of the Breakthrough of the Year contest. So we held this amazing contest amongst our clients that are part of our 67-day year coaching program, where we help them train their brain to be able to unleash their business, be able to remove limiting beliefs, be able to build a brain-based path of priming to get to where they want to go and to really accomplish a year's worth of goals in 67 days. So as you're jumping on live, let me know that you're here because we're diving deep into that today. We're going to announce the big winner. So let me tell you what they've done. And then I'm going to dive into this one business strategy that really separates the solo hustling struggling entrepreneur from those that are in 6, multiple 6, 7, and even 8 figures. And it's one strategy. And I'm going to detail out the strategy for you so you can get a sense of what it is. We're going to be deep diving into how to think like a 7-figure entrepreneur and become unleashed in your business in a live event starting next Monday. So you're going to want to get registered at unleashedentrepreneur.com. So first of all, I'm excited to be able to announce the winners. So if you're in the room and you are part of our tribe, you're our clients, and we have been sending out these videos. So they submitted videos about how their lives have breaked through, like what has shifted for them while they've been in our coaching program, how they've been able to collapse time, make more money, get their business off the ground, grow, move faster because they've tapped into the power of thinking like a 7-figure entrepreneur, removing limitations that are brain-based, building up the pathway so your brain can believe it, and a very science-backed process to not try to accomplish January's goals, but try to get January's goals done in 67 days so you can accelerate time. So we're going to be diving into that deeply in the Unleashed Entrepreneur live training event. And so you can register for that at unleashedentrepreneur.com. So before I announce our winners of the Breakthrough of the Year contest, these folks are amazing. Their stories are incredible. And they submitted videos, and then we put them in a software where they sent them out to everybody and they voted, because as a business owner, I would choose everyone, right? So I couldn't do it myself. So we had everybody voting, and we closed voting yesterday, and we have the top 3 winners. And it's very exciting because the top winner is going to be win an in-person mastermind in San Diego with me and other top-end entrepreneurs. Very, very exciting. And then our second and third place, they're going to get a spotlight feature on our podcast, as well as our first place winner, and a email to our list for all 3 that is focused just on them. So it's not a collaborative email with a bunch of people. It's going to be a conversation just about them and their business. So I'm very excited to announce that, but I'm going to start off today's live with talking about this divider strategy. I want to talk about the one key strategy that when I research and talk to and work with those that are struggling, and then on the other hand, myself and working with my colleagues that are at 7 and 8 figure, this one key does separate the two. And so I wanted to talk about that. I'm not going to be able to go super, super deep on it. We will in the live event. I've actually got all 14 things that unpack this one strategy that we're going to be going through in the live event. But this morning, I'm going to talk about 2 to 3. But here's what I want you to think about. The difference between being struggling, hustling, a solopreneur, not being able to see, not knowing the right next step, that feeling of overwhelm, that feeling of overthinking, right? That endless running. I was just having a meeting with Erwin McManus, and he's was talking about the endless running of negative scenarios, right? We're trying to figure out how to get to that minute next level. And we have this belief that it will stack and it will grow in some kind of linear way versus the way 7-figure entrepreneurs think. So the one key strategy, I'm going to talk about what it is, and then I'm going to compare and contrast the two so you can start to see this and how this, the one word I'm going to say it is what you focus on. So I'm going to put the word focus as the strategy, but it's not just focus. It's not your ability to focus. It's what specifically are you focusing on? Get to this place where I know what to do, but it doesn't seem to work. I am overthinking everything. I feel a little bit of overwhelm, and I seem like I put off what I already know I need to do. So if you've had those feelings, I know I have had those feelings, and I'm gonna jump over to the chat here. Put just a that's me or a heck yeah if you've been in that tug of war internally where you know the right things to do, you're learning the steps, yet in the same time you're not able to do the things you know you need to do. And so this is right in the middle of this idea of focus and what to focus on. And so I want to put it in two categories. So in this idea of what I focus on one side, I'm going to talk about what the struggling person, the struggling entrepreneur focuses on. And then I'm going to contradict that or counteract that with what 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs focus on in this arena, this one business strategy of focus. Because tell me in the chat, if you knew you could focus on exactly the right things, tell me how fast would you get to that 7-figure mark? If you knew exactly what to do, how to do it, and nothing got in the way of doing those things, how fast, tell me in the chat, would you get to 7 figures? Now, because when I was struggling like this, and I don't know if you're like me, where I got a lot of my internal value from what I did. And that idea of that I was kind of trained in, like, the more I do, the more I make. And it wasn't true in the online entrepreneur world. Like, I was doing so much. Tell me you feel me. I feel you. If you're like, I was doing so much, way more than most people. But yet that equation wasn't working. Work hard should equal growth. Work hard should equal spend more hours, work more, do more, should equal getting there. Yet it wasn't. It wasn't getting me there. And what that made me start to doubt about my ability, about my calling, even from God. Am I really called to this? Maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe this is just for those special people, right? It starts to create this internal dialogue of avoidance, of overwhelm. But yet there's that thing, and it was in me too, where I just couldn't say, I'm going to give it up. Do you feel that? Like that, just put like that calling, put calling. If you're like, that thing is in me that I just I couldn't lay it down. Like, I had to keep trying, but I also knew it couldn't keep working this way. Something needed to shift. I had to have a shift. And so I'm going to unpack that entire shift in our upcoming live event, Think Seven Figures. Literally, this is the key thing for you to go from struggling to successful, for you to go from overwhelmed to impact. And I'm not breaking down strategies like you think. I'm breaking down the things that are getting in the way. Like, how do you think like a seven-figure entrepreneur when you're going to sell? How do you think like a seven-figure entrepreneur when you're making decisions? And the topic we're talking about today, how do you think like a seven-figure entrepreneur when you're challenged with focus? So I popped up the link for the live event because today is like a top of the or 30,000 foot view, but we're going to dive deep together. 3 training days, 3 hours of developing a seven-figure mindset, of becoming an unleashed entrepreneur, of unpacking how do you remove limiting beliefs, build belief in your brain so that you can excel. Because you just told me that I could get there so much faster if I knew what to focus on. And so that's what we're going to unpack in this new live event. I've never taught what I'm going to be teaching in this free live event. And I'm going to ask you a question in the chat. If you're an entrepreneur or you want to be, and you know that you have all the steps, like you're doing all the things, just like I was, but you know there's a missing piece. I want you to put missing piece in the chat, because you've probably beaten yourself up over it, because I know you're ambitious and you're driven and you desire to help people so much. And so when it's not going fast, you start really looking at it. Put missing piece if you're like, oh my gosh, that is the thing. That's what we're going to be breaking down in the live event. That missing piece. That missing piece, and how to not take 10 years to learn it, not have this long drawn out thing. I don't even like using the word mindset. That's why I say think like a seven-figure entrepreneur, because tell me what you think. If you had the steps and the patterns to think like a seven-figure entrepreneur does in sales, do you think, put sales in the chat if you think you could sell faster, better, and to more people if you could think like a seven-figure entrepreneur. Put leads if you're like, if I could just know how they think about getting leads, how they think about reaching out to people, how they think about these things, it would go so much faster, right? So we chase strategies, and that's not what I want to talk about today. But the only strategy that is the linchpin strategy is to think like a seven-figure entrepreneur. And that can be learned. That's a skill. And we're going to break that skill down step by step in the live event. So I've been scrolling the link for the live event. It's Monday, coming up the 18th. We're together the 18th, 19th, and 20th. I'm going to be really unpacking for you how to think like a seven-figure entrepreneur and how to remove the things that are getting in your way specifically, and how to build a pathway that allows you to think like that seven-figure entrepreneur over and over and over and over again. Okay, I'm going to get back to it. So we talked about it being focused. So on the struggling side, or I call this earthly, we're going to be talking in the live event about earthly crowns versus heavenly crowns, that you are given capacity for heavenly or high level crowns to be able to help people in the world. And a lot of times if you're struggling, you're focused on the earthly or the low level outputs. And that is why it's not working, right? So let me give you some comparison. On the low level or the earthly crown level, I'm in survival. If I could just make X amount more, fill in the blank for you, right? If I could just make X amount more, then it would all work. On the high level, on the heavenly crown level, we are thinking expansion. We're thinking expansion. How do I expand a result? How do I expand the help that somebody can get? How do I expand this? And the reason why that works and why it creates so much momentum for those that you see, right? You see people, they seem to like always have the 6 and 7 figure launches no matter what, or they always are doing things, they're always on stages. It's this next piece of focus. Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy wrote a book called 10X is better than 2X. And this concept is so paramount to this focus. The idea of just 10% more or 2x is on the struggling side, and it keeps you in survival, because when you think about just a little bit more or just 2x, there's thousands upon thousands of paths to get there. And here's the linchpin of this, is that you already know them. So there are thousands and thousands of known strategies to get you where you want to go. And so we focus on those things, and then we start overthinking, and we start trying to control. And I'm going to unpack this live in our event. We start getting negative, and then we start to doubt ourselves, and we start to lead by feelings. We start thinking in only what we can see around us versus what we want. We start looking at ourselves more than serving others. We fight to stay in the known. If I can just control the scenario and do more of what I know, it has to break through. Who's hearing this and going, oh my gosh, I've been stuck in this pattern? You didn't know it was a pattern, but it's a deep pattern, and it's searching for more and more and more and more. Oh, exhausting, isn't it? Boy, I know what that treadmill feels like, and the frustrations that come from being on it. And what ends up happening is this avoidance ends up happening. Like, we can't control the things. And so we actively, as entrepreneurs, procrastinate or avoid that thing, and we go and do other things. And then we feel bad about ourselves. And then it cycles again. Then we use motivation again. And then we make another goal, and it's only 10% or 2x more. And then we start overthinking about it, because they're all known processes, thousands. Versus, are you ready for the other side? Because I want to give you a reflection or a mirror. And then in the live event, we're going to unpack these so you can understand, how do I apply this? How do I go from this to this? How do I go from this to this? And the good news is your brain has steps to do it. So when we're thinking in the heavenly crowns versus the earthly crowns, because do you not know that you were destined for more than just making more money? Do you not know that you were destined for more than just a little bit? Do you not know that God says himself, I have more than you can ever ask or imagine to give you? These are the heavenly crowns, the heavenly calling. Can I get an amen on this? Like, these are the high level, low vibe versus high vibe. This is earthly versus heavenly. And it really correlates with struggling entrepreneurs versus multiple 6, 7, and 8-figure entrepreneurs. So like I said in the beginning, it's not survival, it's expansion, right? It's not survival, it's expansion. And that low 2x, just a little bit more, just want to get out of debt feeling, goes to, I'm not going to just say I want 10K a month. I'm going to say I want 100K or $1 million. It's an expansion to 10, right? And what happens when we do this, and we'll unpack how. So I know your brain is going to serve you, well, I don't know how to do that, right? So I understand you don't know how to do that. And that is part of the focus of a 6 and 7 and 8-figure entrepreneur that I want to unpack for you. Because this idea, here's what happens. On the struggling side, there's so much more you have to do, because you have to chase 1,000 strategies. Like, imagine going to the race